There are also conversations around attracting the younger generation in this whole drive to recapitalize the market, especially with the use of technology. I wonder how you interpret this aspect, because there are those talking about the introduction of new platforms and applications, which at some point did not sit well with the central bank. But you know how young people are. They want a seamless process when it comes to banking as it is. How critical is this aspect of introducing technology into this matter of recapitalization, as well as also attracting the younger generation?
Now, that's a very good question, because this idea of recapitalizing, bringing in more capital into the banking sector, is essentially to help them invest in their financial infrastructure, their financial platforms. And you know, in this day of AI technology, the bank has no choice but to be ahead of the curve. Because in my opinion, most of the Nigerian banks are behind the digital curve. You know, they need to invest more in their tech digital platforms and to make sure they are fit for purpose in this modern day and they can compete favorably with other international banks. Now, as you know, young people are very, very restless and they are always very digitally savvy. So therefore, they expect a banking sector that actually meets up to their requirements in terms of digitization of the bank. Now, I read this morning in the news that the new phase of digital banking now, the CBN is coming down on them, or maybe they've got some concerns or they've got some issues. I was really taken aback because I thought that was the way to go, you know, digitizing the banking system and ensuring that we keep our overheads down. Because most banks now, especially in the Western world, they are closing down their physical banks and actually operating online using their online platforms. And that is reducing their cost base, and therefore they can generate more dividends for their shareholders. So in my opinion, banks need to be up to, they need to keep abreast of the changes that is happening within the sector and to make sure young people find their systems very friendly and can patronize them. Because as you know, we have a huge young population in Nigeria. So that's a big market for the banks. So they must make sure they align themselves to what these young people want. So in my opinion, this new capital injection that is going to come into the banks, they should use it to actually improve their financial infrastructure and their financial platforms to make sure it attracts the young people who are the customers which they should really be seeking, in my opinion.
Well, the reason the CBN gave was because of the fact that some people are already using it for money laundering, some are using it to sponsor terrorism. Just the same, blame they put on the speculators, the Binance of this world, etc. And people are saying that, okay, just like you said, that they should embrace fintech. They should see the way this is disrupting, the banking industry in other climes. Do you feel that it could be the whales in the banking industry, talking about the conventional banks who are seeing that this thing is already giving them a run for their money and is making the younger generation, the generation X, generation Alpha, etc., keen into this banking, this banking system rather than the conventional one? Do you feel like it is the will of this banking industry that are, trying to whittle the power down?
Right. So CBN, as the regulator, needs to do what they have to do. That is their job, to regulate the banking sector. And surely they will have more information than we have in the public domain. So if they've got some concerns with these fintech banks, then they need to do what they need to do. However, as we all know, with these fintech banks, they've created competition for the conventional banks. And so they wouldn't like it. So they will be doing whatever they can to disrupt the development.
All right, Mr. I believe that that interference there, but quite interesting perspective she's bringing to this matter, especially with regards to the aspect of technology, which is critical. As the world is moving, I believe that Nigeria should move along with the world as it is, which is what she's also saying, so that we can attract the Gen Zs,
yeah,
Gen Alpha, and whatever the generation that will come afterwards, because these decisions are not just for the immediate, but what would even outlive us at the end of the day. And as the world changes, the dynamics with regards to doing business also change, and all of it, and it's important. But are we ripe, like we usually use the word, are we matured enough to handle some of these things? We've seen some of the criticism that has come with regards to that, because that will be my next question for Ronke. Ronke, are you there? Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can, yeah.
Now, the question for me is, are we ready as a country, from your perspective now, to really handle this matter of bringing technology into the system? You know, we have a challenge with data management as it is. We have a challenge with cybersecurity as it is. We've not been able to really deal with all of it. How can we really introduce technology to really handle these seamless processes in banking?
In my opinion, there's never a right time to start these things. But again, I have lots of confidence in this current administration. And the reason why is because, in my opinion, I think this current administration has put round pegs in round holes. You know, the person we have at the Ministry of Digital Economy is very, very sound in that area. And I know I have confidence in him that he knows what he's doing. So he would make sure he prepares his ministry to make sure, in terms of digital transformation within the company, we are ahead of the curve. So I have confidence in the capacity he has to do that. But at the same time, whether we like it or not, we all have to keep abreast of technological changes, because the world is moving ahead and Nigeria cannot be left behind. So by default, especially with AI, we have no choice but to embrace technology. Otherwise, we're doing that at our own peril if we do not embrace technology. So we've got the right person in post to lead us on that. The banks now need to play their own role to make sure they have a lot of capital to be able to develop their platforms, and to make sure they reduce their overheads, because with digitizations, they will reduce their overheads. And therefore, the economy and their shareholders will benefit from it. So it's a very good time, to push this forward. There's never a right time. Well, I think this is the right time now. Otherwise, Nigeria will be left behind in the Committee of Nations.
When you say it will help them reduce their overhead, how do